Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week, we're going to be talking about pet and child safety gates, and we'd like to thank ProjectThisHouse.com for featuring our podcast on their website. They have home improvement tips and work with Home Advisor. Cub Cadet is introducing a new coffee called Cub Cadet 3X Coffee. It has 3 times the caffeine of regular coffee. And you can go to their website, theshed.cubcadet.com, and enter for a chance to win a bag of their coffee, and one person will win a Cub Cadet 3-stage snowblower.
Wow.
And you need to enter before January 31st, 2023. And that's theshed.cubcadet.com. One of the first patents in the U.S. for a child gate for the top of a staircase was in 1906. It was made out of canvas, and it had a spring roller to retract and roll up the canvas.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Some of the first standards for safety gates were approved in 1986.
You think it'd be sooner, right?
Yeah, really.
My cousin was babysitting her grandkids recently.
Okay.
They're 3 and 1. Her dad also lives with her, and he has a dog that she doesn't want upstairs begging for food and sitting on her new couch. So she was using a large shoe rack for a dog gate on the stair entryway.
Okay.
And it worked fine to keep the dog from getting upstairs.
Right.
But her 1-year-old grandson, he just bull rushed it and was able to slide it away.
That's scary.
Yeah, it was. So she asked me if I knew of a good child gate that she could use on her stairway.
Sure.
I said I could research it, and then we decided to do a podcast on it. So I'm sure if she has questions, our listeners would love to hear the answers.
And you're just going to tell her to listen to the episode?
She better. What are the different types of pet gates?
There are pressure-mounted, freestanding, and hardware-mounted pet gates. Pressure-mounted gates use pressure to hold the gate in place, so you don't have to screw hardware into a doorway or wall, and it's easy to move to another location. Freestanding gates have feet to keep the gate in place in front of a doorway or stairs. This is easy to move to another area, but it's going to be less secure than a pressure-mounted gate.
Okay.
Hardware-mounted pet gates have hardware that's permanently attached to a doorway or a wall, and these are the most secure type of gates. Great for large dogs, dogs that try to knock down a gate, or at the top of a stairway.
Cool. What type of materials do pet gates come in?
Wood, metal, and plastic are used for gates. If your dog chews or scratches, metal is probably the best choice, and metal is usually more secure for larger dogs.
Right. What are some features to look for in a pet gate?
Pet gates with a pass-through gate area make it easier to get through rather than having to step over it.
Right.
Auto-close pass-through gates automatically close when they're released. Look for child-proof latches or locks if you have kids. Angle mount gates are for areas where the ends of the gate aren't directly across from each other.
Okay.
Retractable gates fold out of the way when they're not being used, and it can have folding sections or a mesh that rolls up on one side. But don't use folding or accordion-style gates if you have kids. It can be a hazard.
What does it look like?
So this is crisscrossing slats with open V shapes on top. It can be a strangulation hazard.
Right.
Compare the warranties when shopping for pet gates. How wide or narrow is the pass-through area? Get one that's comfortable for you to walk through if you're going to be using it a lot. Pressure-mounted gates have a bottom bar that could be a trip hazard in a pass-through gate, especially for older adults. How adjustable is the width if you're using it in multiple locations, like between walls or a doorway? Gates will have a size range.
Okay.
Stay open or hold open models have a walk-through gate that will stay in the open position when it's not being used to contain your pet. And hands-free gates have a foot release.
Cool.
For a pass-through gate, check how it needs to be mounted and how it swings open for the top of stairs. You don't want the gate to swing open over the stairs. It can be a hazard if you have kids. And follow the manufacturer's instructions whether the gate can be used at the top of stairs, especially if you have a large dog.
Okay.
Some pet gates have a small cat door, which is pretty cool if you're keeping a dog out of an area, but it's okay for your cat. Tall gates are good for big dogs or dogs and cats that can jump over most barriers.
Yeah.
A one-hand release lock for walk-through gates is easier to use. And don't buy a gate based on your puppy. You want to buy a gate based on how big your dog is going to be.
Why do people use pet gates?
A pet gate can make sure your pet is safely contained. The American Humane Society estimates that 1 in 3 pets get lost at some point during their lifetime.
Wow.
And close to 10 million dogs and cats are lost or stolen in the U.S. every year.
Wow.
Pet gates can protect your furniture from puppies or kittens that like to chew or scratch. And they can separate your pets from company or visitors.
Cool. What are some top-rated pet gates?
Carlson, it's Carlson. Toddleroo, it's Toddleroo. Richel, Richell. And Cardinal, Cardinal.
Are pet gates and baby gates interchangeable?
Some safety gates are good for both pets and children, but some child gates might not be big enough or strong enough to hold back a large dog. And there are pet gates that aren't secure enough for children. Pressure-mounted gates aren't recommended for stairs because they can potentially be pushed out of the way by kids and pets. Freestanding pet gates are good for small dogs and puppies, but they aren't recommended for kids unless they're under constant supervision.
Right.
Pet gates aren't safety certified the way child gates are. Look for a gate certified by the JPMA, that's the Juvenile Products Manufacturers Association, for a child gate. The CPSC, that's the Consumer Product Safety Commission, has safety standards for gates labeled as a child gate, and the gate must be tested by a CPSC-accepted third-party laboratory for compliance.
Okay.
Some of the requirements for a child gate include a design that prevents a child's head from getting trapped, a height standard, vertical strength if the child tries to climb it, push-out strength, an automatic closing system for walk-through gates, and child-proof locking devices.
Why are safety gates important to use?
A child gate can keep a child contained in an area that's been baby-proofed and away from the kitchen, stairs, or areas with hazards like bookcases, electrical cords, or small items that could be a choking hazard. But it's important to use the right type of gate and install it correctly. Healthline says around 2,000 children go to the emergency room every year for injuries caused by baby gates. Researchers found around 60% of the children injured were younger than 2 years old and were mostly injured by falls downstairs from a gate collapsing or the gate was left open. The Research Institute at Nationwide Children's Hospital says only use hardware-mounted child gates at the top of stairs.
Yeah.
Don't use old accordion-style gates. The CPSC says at least 15 children have died because of strangulation from accordion-style gates. The child's head and neck get trapped in the V shape of the gate.
Terrible. What are the different types of safety gates?
Hardware-mounted is the safest type of gate. It's bolted or screwed to a doorway or wall into the studs. It's usually wood or steel with a walk-through gate section. Hardware-mounted is the only type to use at the top of a staircase.
Okay.
Pressure-mounted gates use pressure against a door frame or walls to stay in place. The new guideline for withstanding 30 pounds of force went into effect in 2021. Older gates may not meet this standard. The old standard was 10 pounds of pressure.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah. New hardware is needed for some gates to meet the new standard, so read the label because retail stores and online stores are allowed to sell out their old stock. Newly produced products have to meet the new standard.
Right.
Some companies are using hardware-mounted wall cups to secure a pressure-mounted gate to meet the new standard, and some companies are calling this a hybrid style.
Okay.
For new pressure-mounted safety gates that don't use wall cups, the gate must have a visual side pressure indicator that shows if the gate has the right amount of pressure.
That's smart.
I spoke to Baby Dan. They're at babydan.com. That's BABYDAN.com. They've been making child products since 1947.
Wow.
They said child safety gates are divided between hardware-mounted and pressure-mounted gates. And to make it easier to find the right safety gate, they group their safety gates by safety gates for doors, safety gates for fireplaces and wood-burning stoves, safety gates for the bottom of stairs, and safety gates for the top of stairs.
Cool.
For wood stoves or fireplaces, they recommend hardware-mounted gates. And they have hardware-mounted gates that angle out in front of the fireplace or a wood stove to keep kids at a distance. For doors, they recommend pressure-mounted or hardware-mounted gates. Pressure-mounted gates are more convenient if you plan on removing it for guests or if you plan on using it in different locations. Use a pressure or hardware-mounted gate at the bottom of stairs. Measure the distance between the two walls or the newel posts or the wall and the post. They have stair adapters if you have rounded newel posts. For the top of stairs, use a hardware-mounted gate. Measure between the walls or newel posts. For the post, look how the gate attaches to the post and the type that's recommended for your style.
What is a newel post?
It's the large post at the top or the bottom of a staircase.
Cool. How do you install a safety gate?
For a hardware-mounted gate, you screw the hardware into a wood post, doorway, or a wall stud, but check the manual for your model. Hardware can be designed to be on a specific side, like on the right side at the top of stairs while you're looking down. For pressure-mounted gates with wall cups, you should use wall anchors for drywall with a high weight rating, or find a stud and screw into the stud for the most secure connection. If you're just going into drywall, self-tapping threaded wall anchors are easy to install. You just use a Phillips screwdriver. You don't have to pre-drill a pilot hole.
Cool.
And many of these have a 50-pound weight rating. If you're drilling pilot holes for anchors, check the recommended size for the anchor. If you're going into a wood post, drill a pilot hole to help prevent the wood from cracking.
Right.
Most pressure-mounted gates have a threaded rod with a rubber or plastic foot that sets against the wall or the doorway called a spindle. The gates I saw came with a wrench to tighten the spindle.
Cool.
Some companies have cushioned wall protectors to go under the foot to spread out the pressure as you tighten the spindle to protect the wall or the doorway surface, or you can buy this as an accessory.
Okay.
Pressure-mounted gates without a pass-through will either have a bar that tightens the gate or a lever system that you push down to lock it in place, and they'll have rubber feet on the sides. You don't need any tools to lock it in place.
That's good.
And this is the type of gate I use to block off my crawl space so my cat doesn't get in there.
Bad kitty. What are some top-rated stud finders?
Zircon, Zircon, Franklin Sensors, Franklin, Bosch, Bosch, DeWalt, DE, capital WALT, and Ryobi, RYOBI.
What are some features to look for in a safety gate?
Compare the walk-through gate release latches, and I would read the reviews on models. Some I read said they were difficult to open. The Juvenile Products Manufacturers Association says the baby gate should be no less than 22 inches in height. The distance between the floor and the bottom of the gate should be less than 3 inches. The vertical slats need to be less than 3 inches apart, and it should withstand 30 pounds of force. A taller gate is usually better.
Okay.
For the bottom of stairs that have a post, if you don't want to screw into the post, look for post hardware that uses straps or nuts and bolts to secure the gate rather than screwing into the post. Or you can get Y-shaped spindles for balusters at the bottom of stairs. Compare the warranties. Look for the JPMA certification. One-hand operation for a pass-through gate is easier to use. How wide does the gate expand, especially if you're using it in multiple locations?
Right.
Some pressure-mounted gates can be converted to hardware-mounted.
Cool.
Gates that can also be mounted at an angle are more versatile. Compare the width of the pass-through on the gate. Hardware-mounted gates I looked at didn't have a bottom bar at the bottom of the pass-through, where pressure-mounted models have that bottom bar, which could be a tripping hazard.
Right.
So depending on your situation. Some gates open in both directions, and some models have stops, so you can either have it open both ways or lock it one direction or the other direction, depending on where you're putting it. So that's handy.
Cool. How long do you need to use a baby gate?
Nationwide Children's Hospital says gates should be used with children between 6 months and 2 years of age. And once your child learns how to open or climb over a gate, it shouldn't be used anymore.
Okay. In doing this research, I came across FSC certified.
Okay.
What is that?
FSC stands for the Forest Stewardship Council. It was created in 1993. It promotes responsible management of the world's forests. An FSC forest is where trees are only cut down to the extent that the forest can replenish itself. The animals and plants are protected, and the people who work in the forest are properly trained, equipped, and given a fair wage.
That's good.
FSC is an international nonprofit for wood products that are supported from green organizations like the World Wildlife Fund, Greenpeace, and Forests of the World. Baby Dan says their Tora safety gate is made from FSC certified beech.
Cool. What are some top-rated safety gate companies?
Kidco, KID, capital CO, Safety First, it's SAFETY, the number 1, ST, Regalo, REGALO, Baby Dan, and Cardinal Gates.
Do you have anything else to add?
Fill out the warranty in case there's a recall or a problem with your gate. Make sure you're using the correct gate for your location. Read the instructions before installing the gate, and don't use accordion-style gates if you have children. We'd like to thank Baby Dan for helping us with some information for this episode, and if you win free coffee or a snowblower from Cub Cadet, let us know.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our ebooks, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, books 1 through 16 on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Cindy on Twitter @FixitCohost, and you can follow us on Instagram, Fixit Home Improvement.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.